Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. In today's video, we're going to be going over the DKGM ranking. The ranking season has just started for Smash Ultimate. While the official ranking season isn't ending till next week, we still have a couple of these rankings come out, and the DKGM has one of the highest production values I've ever seen on these rankings. Like, this stuff is genuinely incredible, so huge shout outs to DKGM. His stuff will be down below. I highly recommend that you check him out, but we're going to start with our honorable mentions. You're going to have Proto Bonham, DD, Frog, and Tilde. Now, for Proto Bonham, DD, and Tilde, it's definitely just because they don't have a lot of attendance under these belts. These are top caliber players that have been ranked in the top echelon of the game before, especially Proto Bonham, but they just haven't been super active this season. But even without being super active, you still have some really good results. I mean, Proto's got 7th place at a major and 5th place at Summit. Like, those are amazing ones. DD's been doing really well at regional events. Tilde, as well as a couple good regional events and a decent placement at Let's Make Big Moves. And you're also going to have Frog, another Bayonetta player that's been having success in the recent meta. Bayonetta is a character that I feel like has skyrocketed from having almost no reps to so many prominent Bayo players. So big ups to Frog for that. I'm sure next year he's probably going to get on the main ranking. Also, just for the sake of time, we're not going to be going over every single player in this video, so if there is someone that I leave out and you're curious about their season, please just let me know down below. But starting off with the 100 to 76 area, you're going to have Kobe being ranked the highest Young League player in the world, so there's a lot of contention with that character, and he was the only one that managed to squeak into the top 100, so he's got to be feeling pretty good about that. You have a couple Diddy Kong players. Diddy Kong, a very popular character in the meta. Mega Man, not so popular in the meta, but you're going to have both Peanut and Repo right next to each other. These are going to be the only reps of Mega Man on this entire list. I guess Kameme has a secondary Mega Man as well, but I don't really count that, to be honest. You're going to have a handful of Steve players there, all have been popping up super hard this season, especially Rico and Yamanox. This was kind of their introduction into super competitive Smash, and they've been faring very well. You could also say that about Rarikun as well. He's had an amazing pop-off season, but when we talk about pop-off seasons, we got to talk about M40. And when I was talking about good production, this is what I mean. Every single player has their own little slide like this. Is going to have their best wins, their best placements at major events, super major events, then their best head-to-heads, their losing records, some of their best wins and losses. This is just very cool. Again, the production on this is amazing. And as you can see, M4E has a 2-2 record versus Bloom, which is pretty insane. So if there is any player that you want to check out, links will be down below, because look at this. This is just so well done. But a couple other players I want to mention. Toraguri, top 100 of the Banjo. I don't know how he does it, and no one else does either, because no one has results close to this good with Banjo. You're going to have Dom sneaking in there with the Belmonts as well, and he hasn't had a super active season. I think Dom is a player that could definitely go up. I think Luis is a player that could go up. I think Quick is a player that definitely will go up, because Europe didn't really have a ton of opportunities to prove himself this year. M4E as well, you can apply that to him. And now that Europe is going to have more majors going into the second half of the year, I think you're going to start to see some of these European players pop off, because Europe as a region is just super underrated overall. They've been doing very well as of late, so you definitely want to keep your pulse on the European scene. And then finally, you're going to have Andrik as well, a player that doesn't go to a ton of events, but the regionals that he's been going to, he's been farming. I mean, he just top 8 at Patchwork recently, one of the best Captain Falcon players in the world, and someone that you got to look out for. Next up, we have 75 to 51, our most popular character here being Snake with MVD, Kronos, and Hurt. I think these are all players that could improve going into the latter half of the year, especially Hurt. His improvement rate has been absolutely incredible, like rivaling Apollo Kage. He's been looking insane this season, and he's also the only prominent Snake player right now to have a secondary. Now, you do have Apollo Kage, where they technically has a secondary Steve, but you very scarcely see it come out. MVD, Kronos, Dio, they're pretty much sticking entirely to Snake, while as Hurt, he's going to rely on that Greninja a little bit. I think having a secondary is always going to be helpful. I'm very curious to see if maybe that's the thing that could push Hurt away from the other Snake players and get him that title of #1. And then you're going to have Tarek, Leon Space, Andres FN, and Icon as well, all being in Europe, because Icon, I believe, is studying abroad, and Europe is a region that's just going to become more active in the latter half of the year. So those are all players I could see improving in the rankings. You have Kome being the only Shulk on this list. Now, he's not obviously the only notable Shulk player. You have Elijahman, you have Jared as King, but I definitely think Shulk is a character that results-wise is not leading up to the theory-wise. I think on the tier list, after 5 years almost in Smash Ultimate, Shulk players, we're not really seeing the results. Is Shulk the stupid broken character that we all maybe think he is? He's still very good, don't get me wrong. Monado Arts is cheating, but maybe there's some characters in Smash Ultimate that are a little bit more viable. But to be fair, you can say the same thing about Pikachu, you can say the same thing about Link, and I have a lot of faith in those characters, so maybe just ignore that point. You're going to have Armadillo as well, top 50 almost in the world with Lucario. Absolutely crazy. Now, this is a character that I'm starting to believe in a little bit more, and that is because of Armadillo. Some of the stuff that he's been doing is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to have Goblin and Hikaru. Despite this not being a great year for raw results, they're still going to be pretty high up here on the ranking. And the player card that I want to show for this section is going to be Abadango, because look at all these characters he's playing at the top level. You could probably also add Pikachu to that list, and the results are pretty good. He's able to get wins on players like Masha, Torier, Neo, Umeki, and Pasariman. Best placement at the major is going to be this 13th place at Wave, but he's also going to have some pretty good placements at some B tier events. He's going to get a win at some C tiers as well. So overall, Abadango, he's had a little bit of a shaky season. Some things have been a little bit inconsistent, but despite him not getting into the top 8 of any of these major events, he's still picking up wins along the way. He's still getting consistent results, which I think is what matters more at the end of the day. If you are consistently just getting good placements, you could still get a nice ranking like Abadango does here. You also have now being the only Japanese Mario on this list, though I don't think it reflects how close the competition is between how good the Japanese Marios are right now, because you have Snow and now being the front runners for it. There's a couple other people you could also throw into contention there. So despite now being the only one ranked, I think there's a lot of Japanese Mario players that could potentially take that title. Next up, we have the 50 to 26 area, our most popular character here, being that wolf pack of Masha, Ouch, and Jackal. And I do believe that this is the correct order. Jackal is definitely going to have the peaks of the 3 wolf players, but Ouch and Masha still have amazing results respectively. Both of them were able to get 9th place at super major P tier events, so big ups to Ouch, Masha, and Jackal. They've all had amazing seasons, and that title of best wolf, I feel like it's ever changing, but maybe Jackal will be able to hold on to it this time. Really interested to see how that plays out. You're also going to have both Dio and Apollo Kage on there. Apollo Kage, definitely the best Snake in the world right now. While Dio probably did have the best season in Japan with Snake. He starts off really strong with his run at Umabora. I do think that Hurt will probably take that title of best Snake soon, but to be fair, Dio has surprised me a lot of times before. It wouldn't be the first time if he's able to keep it. You're going to have Lima and Bloom both being on here. You're going to have Chase and Jagaimo again. I do think that Chase is the better Palutena player right now, but he's also going to use some secondary characters, though mainly at the major level. The Palutena has been putting in, I'd say, like 95, maybe even a higher % of the work. So Chase, he's been dominating with the Palu Jagaimo has as well. You're going to have Doramiki and Takara. I feel like they're unsung heroes of Japan. To be fair, Doramiki just popped off recently at Maizuma. That run was incredible, like good enough to make me consider him one of the top 10 players in Japan for the time being. Now, ranking-wise, he's obviously not that, but to be fair, that second place run was one of the most impressive runs we've had from a Japanese player. If he's able to do that 1 or 2 more times, then he's definitely going to be cemented within that top 10 Japan. Takara, just a player that I feel like a lot of people are talking about, but this guy is ridiculous. He gets so many good results, and he's doing it with solo Ken. A lot of FGC players, they're going to be using a bit of Ryu, maybe Terry and Kazuya. Takara does it with just Ken. He's a Ken main through and through, and it's clearly working out for him. You're going to have Capitancito being the only Mii player on this list. That includes Mii Brawler and Mii Sword Fighter. It's crazy that there's not a Mii Brawler to me on this list yet. Mii Brawler players, y'all got to start getting some results because that character is broken. You're going to have 2 hidden talents of Shiny Mark and Quid. If they just went to more events, they would be ranked way higher. Same thing with Mars as well, to be honest. Mars only has 2 major events under his belt, 7th place at Level Up XL and 9th place at Genesis. Like, if Mars, Quid, and Shiny Mark went to more events, they'd probably all be top 20. And the player card that I want to take a look at is going to be Bloom, because look at these regional results. He doesn't do amazing at the only major he goes to, 33rd at King of Fields, but look at this regional. He just wins them all. He has a 5-0 record versus Siski, 6-3 record versus Lugi, and that's his rival, and he's winning it by 3 sets. Like, that's how good this guy is. He's absolutely incredible, and he's only going to get better, him and Siski, because, as I've said already in this video, European players, the results are going to skyrocket as Europe becomes way more relevant in the second half of the year. Now, for the sake of drama, we're going to be doing the top 25 player card by player card, and then going over the actual placements every, like, 5 or so players, starting off with the Buzz, though, who actually only has 1 top 8 this year at a major, but to be fair, it's for the Kagurimi, the most important event of the year, and he gets wins on Dio, Hurt, Saruman, Riddles, and Hiro. Looks incredible. Also has 9th place at Let's Make Big Moves, 13th place at both Genesis and Battle of BC. To be fair to the Buzz, if he was going to some of these A-tier events, he would be top 8ing them. He's only going to the hardest of the hardest events. It's either S tiers or P tiers. Like, he has been going to the toughest competition, and he's still been performing. And at the regional level as well, he wins his biggest event in his Smash Ultimate career at CEO. He's also able to win Combo Breaker. He's able to win PAX East 2023 Almost Pro. His only unranked loss of the season, or non-top 100 loss of the season, is to Mao, who's a really good Japanese midman. Like, you can't even blame him too much for that. DeBuzz, he's had an amazing season, even though the top 8 record might not reflect that. I still think he's been doing incredibly well. well and still one of the front runners of the game. Also, shouts to him having so many relevant characters. You're going to have Yara as well, who also is a secondary Cloud that I wasn't super familiar with, but that Cloud is actually nasty. Like, if you can find some Yara mods playing Cloud, he is good with this character. But these results, they're incredible. 7th place at Meisuma top, 13th place at Kagurabi 10, again, most important event of the year. 4th place at Kowloon 5, the only time he travels out of region, he gets a 17th place at Battle of BC. Yara is definitely the best Samus player in the world at this point. I don't really think it's close, but to be fair, to Siski's credit, Siski didn't have as many opportunities to prove himself. He does outplace him at Battle of BC, but Yara's results in Japan, they're just too strong for me, and he's going to have some pretty good regional performances as well. He's going to get 2nd place at Kowloon 6. He's even going to win a couple C-tier events. Not too many non-top 100 losses, and these are Shion, Karage, and Shogun, some absolutely incredible players. No demons as well. The Buzz that have a demon, which is always just nice to prove that these players aren't able to be locked down by everyone. And you also have Yara with a win on Spargo that I just forgot to mention. That's one of the best wins you can have in Smash Ultimate. He's also got wins on Mia, Yoshidora, T, Osmo. Like, the wins list for Yara, it's absolutely insane. Next up, you're going to have Ken, who ends up getting 2nd place at Meisuma top 11. Definitely his best run of the season, but he also has a top 8 at Kagurabi 9, 9th place at Kagurabi 10, 9th place at Umebara. A bunch of amazing results throughout the season. Has a win on Akala, which is literally the best win you can have, as well as wins on Yoshidora and Shutone. You're also going to have some decent regional performances. Nothing super crazy. He does get a nice win at Wave Championships, but everything else is pretty typical. He's going to have some unranked losses, but again, these are all really good players. In Japan, the unranked losses are fairly tough because you look at someone like Shogun, level 1, Yuzu, these are top 100-esque players. They just don't have the results because it's really, really hard to be top 100 right now in this game, so I can't even blame him for that. And also, no demon, which again, is always a good sign. Next up, you're going to have Big D, and I mean, just look at these top 2 results. 3rd place at Summit wins on Gluttony, Akala, and Karama. An Akala win with Ice Climbers is crazy. 4th place at Major Upset as well with wins on Riddles and Jackal. And then he has 17th place at Genesis and 33rd at Battle of BC. Battle of BC is going to be really his only blemish on the record. That win list is absolutely incredible. Again, he's doing it with Ice Climbers. He's not the only Ice Climbers player on this list. You're also going to have Harrison, I believe, but he's definitely the best one in the world. Like, it is not even close anymore. It's going to have a couple unranked losses, but again, these are all incredible players. Ludo as well had such an insane run at Major Upset. They're all top 100 caliber. They're just not quite top 100. Next up, you're going to have Onan, who hasn't attended a ton this season. As you can see, at the major level, he only has a 25th at Let's Make Big Moves, 17th at Battle BC, and 4th place at Crown. Now, the reason he's ranked this high is because this 4th place at Crown, I mean, he picks up wins on Tweak, Chase, Gak, Meister, and Kronos. That's literally all of his best wins, aside from Apollo Kage. And he also has been farming regionals. 1st place at Sweet Spot, 1st place at SOS, 1st place at Phoenix Down. His only unranked loss is to Enhanced PV, who not only plays Cloud, but probably should be ranked top 100. Enhanced PV is an absolutely ridiculous player that just doesn't go to a ton of events. So Onan hasn't had a super active season, but what he's been to, it's actually been pretty good. And then finally for this segment, you're going to have Skyjay, who has a 2nd place at Collision. This run is unreal. Double eliminates Spargo there, as well as picking up wins on players like DeBuzz, Meister, Lima, Mr. E. And then you're going to have that 5th place at Summit as well, with wins on Riddles and Apollo Kage. Gets his run back from Collision. 17th place at Battle of BC. This Genesis placement, it is pretty rough. 97th there, but to be fair, everything since then has been looking absolutely incredible. He also has a bunch of regionals under his belt. He has a win at Ego Boost, Warlock, the final Ryokan. Like, I could go on and on. Just so many C-tier wins here. His only demon is going to be the Meister, and he still has a win in that set in the most important tournament that he's been to. I mean, the only time he's played Meister at the major level, he ends up winning there. So when it matters most, Skyjay is able to perform, and doing that with Incineroar is pretty insane. To be top 20 in the world in this current meta with the big cat, like, that is unreal. And for that entire segment, to be honest, I think the only players I would shift around would be Big D and Onan. I just value Big D's wins a little bit more, and Onan also has similar lows to Big D with that 33rd at Battle of BC. He's going to have that 25th at Let's Make Big Moves. And while Onan does have good wins like Tweak and Meister, Big D just has a couple more reps under his belt, which means more opportunities, and at those opportunities, he's getting wins on Akala, on Riddles, on Gluttony, on Kurama. So I would probably move Big D above Onan, but aside from that, I think this is done pretty well. Next up is going to be Mutes, and you can immediately see the dichotomy of this player. We're going to have 13th at Battle BC, 9th at Summit, 2nd at Genesis, all gold tier wins, which means they're top 20. And then you're going to have some not as good results. You're going to have 65th losing to Banjo and Duck Hunt, and these are just going to be the things that happen when you are spectating Mutes. Mutes is a player that is so tough to rank, and honestly, it doesn't really matter to me where he's ranked. You want to put Mutes in your top 10, that's fine. You want to say Mutes is 40th place in the world, that's also fine, because he has some of the highest highs in Smash Ultimate, but he also has some of the lowest lows. Again, at the top level. So what matters to me with Mutes is not where he's ranked, but how is he playing at this one event? Because every single event that Mutes goes to, even if the top 100 players in the world are there, he can definitely win that event, but he also may buster out of those events because of external factors. Plus, just playing Peach and Bracket and being consistent with his character all the time is extremely hard. So I think 19th place for Mutes is absolutely fine. He is a major threat. He can win these events. He does have amazing regional performances, as well as, again, this wins list is absolutely ridiculous. So even though he does have some lows, he is still an incredible player. Next up, you're going to have Osimo. Now, the start of Osimo's season was amazing. It did get a little bit worse towards the end there, but even still, he's got some good results at the end. 5th place at Meisuma top 13, 3rd place at Kowloon 5, 4th place at Meisuma top 11, and then that star run of Kagami B9 where he gets 2nd place with a win on Aqua. I mean, look at these wins. He's been doing absolutely amazing at the regional level as well. He's able to get a handful of good results. All these unranked losses are absolutely incredible players. Now, he is going to have that super big demon of Mia, which is definitely a tough one to deal with, but to be fair, that's not only a really tough matchup, but Mia is like top 5 in the world right now, so that's like one of the only players that can always best you in bracket. I think you're in a fairly good spot. Next up, you're going to have Meister with a 33rd at Let's Make Big Moves and a 25th at Genesis, being his weaker results towards the start of the season, and then he's going to get a 4th at Collision, 5th at Battle BC, 13th place at Crown, wins on players like Tweak, Gluto, Zomba, Karama, Skyja. I mean, he has been absolutely farming. Low Tide City as well has a really nice losers run there, getting 3rd place, the true beginning. Reborn's able to pick up a win there. His demon is going to be Spargo, and when your demon is potentially the best player in the world, who a lot of people regard as the best player in the world, you got to be feeling pretty good about that. And even though Meister, I think, has kind of fallen under the shadow of Mia as of now, when the season resets and Meister gets rid of some of these bad results, I think he is a player, if he continues to play the way he has, that we could see being placed in the top 10. I mean, he has been looking absolutely incredible as late. It's a couple blemishes towards the start that are keeping him down. You could say the same thing about Mia as well, but honestly, I wouldn't be super shocked if we had 2 Game Watch players in the top 10 next season. Next up, you're going to have Zachary, one of the most interesting players in the world. He's going to have 33rd at Wave, 13th at Umabor, 3rd places at both the major Kagruby events this season, and he does it with a pit that seemingly came out of nowhere. Is able to get wins on players like Kameme, Yoshidora, Zomba, Ken, Hiro, Neo, Jagaimo, and Takara. Zach Ray is an enigma of Smash. He can play so many characters at the top level, and that's what makes him so excited to be going into the next season. Does he stay with Pit? Does he go back to Joker Rob? Maybe he uses all those characters. Maybe the Wolf and the Sheik come back. I really have no idea what the future holds for Zachary, but I'm very excited to see how he does at these future events because he is just such a fun player to watch. He's just so talented at this game. It doesn't really matter who he's playing. He's got that unique style that just kind of owns people. Gonna have Karama up next. Definitely the best Mario player in the world. I mean, look at these results. He has a 5th place at King of Fields, 7th place at Crown, 5th place at Major Upset, and a 4th place at Summit. Wins on players like Spargo, T, Zomba, Mute, Skyja. I mean, that win list is absolutely ridiculous. He's not going to have as many regional performances, DreamHack San Diego being his only one where he gets 2nd, but he's got no top 100 losses or no non-top 100 losses, which is huge. Almost everyone else that we've covered has had at least 1 or 2. His demon's going to be to MKLeo. Again, when your demon is a caliber player like MKLeo, it kind of just proves how goated you are at this game. And I think the placements are also really well done for that section. Mutes and Zachary are just kind of hard players to rank in general, and I would maybe move Meister above Zachary just because Meister has slightly better wins, but they both have some amazing peak results and a couple inconsistencies along the road, so I think the rankings are absolutely fine. Next up, you're going to have Zomba, who these past couple months has been looking like the best player in America. He's able to get 13th at Genesis, 9th at Major Upset and Collision. Then he goes to Japan, underperforms at Delta 4, gets 25th there, I believe. And then since then, it's been pretty much flawless. 9th place at Kagami 10, 7th place at Battle BC with wins on Leo and Tweak, first place at Crown 3, winning his first ever major event, his first ever super major event with wins on, again, Leo and Tweak, as well as Sonic's, Shootone, and Jackal. Zomba's season's been so good that he has a top 8 at level of Expo that doesn't even make the main board, only has 3 unranked losses. And then again, it was Delta 4 gonna be really his only blemish on the record. I guess technically a 17th place at Battle of BC, or rather Let's Make Big Moves. When you get to this part of the ranking, it starts to become a bit of a bad placement, but for almost everyone else in the world, 17th place at a super major of that caliber is an amazing placement. Zomba, there was a little bit of question whether or not he was the best Rob in the world towards the start of the season. I think all those questions have been answered because it's absolutely yes. He's been doing incredible, and going on to the latter half of the year, I think he's only going to get better and better, potentially a top 10, maybe even top 5 player. He's been looking that good recently. Then you have T, who hasn't been looking as good this season, but when T isn't looking good, he still gets 2nd place in Umabora, 5th place at Maysuma Top 12, 9th place at Genesis, 13th place at Crown, and Maysuma Top 13, 17th at Kagebe 10, wins on players like Mia, Kameme, Yoshidora, Shuton, Osibo. This is one of T's worst seasons. I cannot say that enough. It is one of his worst seasons, and he's still top 15 in the world with some of these absolutely insane results. Only has 1 unranked loss. Akla is obviously going to be the thorn in your side, but when the best player in the world, or the number 1 ranked player on this ranking, is the demon in your side, that's not really too big of a deal, to be honest. At number 12, you're going to have Glutony, who is the best player in Europe right now. Bloom, I think, is close to taking that title, but Gluto has looked amazing these last few months. It feels like he really has his grip hold over Europe again. The only top 8 he's missed this season, by the way, is 9th at Battle of BC, probably the hardest event to top 8 of the entire year, and he missed it by 1 placement. Like, that's pretty insane. He also has a 7th place at Ultimate Summit, 6th, 5th at Let's Make Big Moves and Genesis, and a big win at Europe's only major of the year in King of Fields. Wins on players like Tweak, Leo, Light, and Mutus. And as you can see, he's starting to reclaim some of these regionals. Glutony was struggling with these in the past couple months, but he wins Icarus, he wins Slywind, he wins Dose to Secure. Like, he's actually been doing so well in Europe, and that really gives me a lot of confidence for him, because obviously when he's traveling, he's been doing amazing, but he was having a bit of trouble defending that home turf, but it seems like he's really figured something out and has just been looking flawless. So hopefully he's able to continue that into the second half of the year. You have Shootone as well, who has a couple inconsistencies, and by that I mean a 25th at Kagurabi 10, 17th at Kagurabi 9, 25th at Gen 1.1. Granted, that is only regional, and the only reason I'm pointing these out is because last year Shootone didn't have any of these. Shootone had a bit of a rocky season to his standard, and despite that, he has a 5th place at Umabora, 3rd place at Delta 4, 3rd place at Crown, 3rd place at Battle of BC. He wins Kowloon 5 and Wave, wins on players like Mia, Light, Kameme, Zomba, Meister, Osimo, Mutes, Ken. I mean, Shootone, he is incredible. 3rd place at Subageki 13, and that's not even on his main win card. He got top 3 at a major, and that's not even one of his top 5 most impressive placements. That's how amazing Shootone has still been looking. And our final placement check before we get into the top 10. And again, I think all these placements are fine. I think this ranking is really well done towards the higher end. To be honest, one of the best I've seen. I think Shootone is potentially the only player I would change. I would maybe slot him into the top 10 because his wins list is so strong. But as I said earlier, he does have a couple inconsistencies. So I think all these placements are fine. On to this juicy top 10. So into the top 10, our first player is going to be Yoshidora, and he's actually the only player that I would adjust the placement of. I would put him at 11 and then Shootone at 10, but to be fair, Yoshidora is a top 10 caliber player. I mean, 7th place at Battle of AC and Maysuma top 12. 4th place at Maysuma top 13, 5th place at Kagurabi 10, 4th place at Kagurabi 9, 3rd place at Umabora, wins on players like Mia, Kameme, Shootone, Osimo, Yara. His only bad placement is going to be Maysuma top 11, where he gets 13th. Not even that bad of a placement. Has wins at Sumabato SB39, Sumabato SB40 as well, collected a win there. Sumabato SB34 gets 2nd place. His only unranked loss is going to be to Rizyasu, who, to be fair, probably should be ranked because Rizyasu is crazy. Again, I would have Shootone above Yoshidora just because I think Shootone's wins are too good, but Yoshidora is so consistent. He definitely beats Shootone in that aspect. He's been doing amazing, and while he doesn't have a major win this season, I could definitely see him getting one next season. He has been pushing the Yoshi meta so far, not single-handedly, but when you look at the results compared to the other Yoshi players, it's pretty much single-handedly. This guy is so insane with this character. At number 9, you're going to have Kameme, who does have a handful of inconsistencies this season. He's got 33rd at Kagurabi 10, 17th at Maysuma top 12, 17th at Genesis 9. Not amazing placements. His only unranked loss was Silk, which again isn't that big of a deal. But then you look at his good results, and Oh my lord. 9th place at Kaguribi 9, 4th place at Umabora and Battle of BC, 3rd place at Meisuma top 13, 2nd place at Wave and Subageki. The losers runs he was able to make at some of these tournaments as well. I mean, wins on Mia, MK Leo, Yoshidora, Shutong, Glutzy, T, Zachary, Osimo, all gold players for your wins. I think that's the first player that we've seen do that. Kameme has been farming. He does have secondary Sheik and Mega Man, but it's definitely been Sora. He is the sole rep of this character at the super top level. And while I do think that will change, it may be a little bit before we see it because Sora is a really hard character. Kameme has clearly mastered though, and it's clearly paying off because these results are ridiculous. Also, just so no one yells at me, Mutis also had a full gold, so he's the second player to do it. Still really impressive though. Next up, you're going to have Sonic's only bad placement being 13th at Crown. And again, it's all relative. For most people, that's not bad. But for a top 10 player in the world, it's not great. He also, though, has a 5th at Collision, 3rd at Let's Make Big Moves, and Level Up Expo, and a 4th place at Genesis. Wins on players like Spargo, Leo, Light, Riddles, Gluttony, Zomba, Karamba, and Apollo Kage, barely missing out on the full golds there. Also, some really nice regional performances. 2nd at Wave Dash and MomoCon, 1st at CECC Open and Don't Drown in Pools. He beat his Demon Light for the first time this season, which is a big deal. Even though it is still his Demon, Light is a person that is still consistently beating him in the bracket. I think the fact that you just done it once proves that you can do it again. And Sonix is a major winner player. Even though he hasn't won one this season, I think next season we could definitely see him picking up another win like he did at CEO. Because when you look at his wins, these are people that you would meet in the grand finals of a major. Spargo, Leo, Riddles, Light, Gluttony. He's able to beat these players. He's able to perform at the best of the best. He hasn't quite closed on one yet this season, but I definitely think in the latter half of the year we could see Sonix getting his first major win of 2023. But speaking of major winners in 2023, you're going to have Riddles with a 9th place at Ultimate Summit 6, 7th place at Kaguri 10, 3rd place at Major Upset, 2nd place at Delta 4, 4th place at Meisuma Top 12, and then 1st place at that eluded major win of Collision. Full gold wins with wins on Spargo, Mia, MK Leo, Sonix, Kameme, Shutone, T, and Karama. Now, he does have a couple inconsistencies. He's got a 33rd at Genesis. It doesn't say here, but he's got a 17th at Battle BC. Also, crazy that 7th place, a top 8 at Let's Make Big Moves, isn't on some of your best placements. I mean, that's just how good Riddles has been this season. Has a couple unranked losses, but to be fair, one of them is Proto Bonham. Can you even really count that? Riddles has been incredible this season. He's also added the Terry back to his roster, and I think that's really helped him out. I think Terry is an amazing character right now in the meta, and for Riddles as well, his Terry is just so insanely good that I love to see him playing it. At number 6, you're going to have Light, who has had a couple weaker placements towards the end of the season. And by weaker placements, I mean like a 9th at Crown, a 13th at Battle BC. It's like, oh no, so bad. But to be fair, when you're in contention for top 5 in the world, those results do start to hurt. But he also has 9th at Collision, 5th at Let's Make Big Moves, 3rd at Genesis, and a nice win at Level Up Expo. Got wins on Spargo, multiple wins on Tweak, multiple wins on Sonix, Kameme, Zomba, Ken, Yara, and DeBuzz. He's also got a couple very nice regional results. He's going to have that first place at MomoCon and that first place at CT GamerCon. No unranked losses, which is always nice. Light is a player that is so good. He doesn't even have a ton of events under his belt. Again, these are the only 6 major events that he's been to this season, and his worst placement is 13th place. He's still incredibly consistent, still one of the best players in America, still a frontrunner for that title of best player in America. It's between him, Tweak, and Zomba right now for reference, but Light is a player, though he does miss the top 5 this time, he is still absolutely insane, still has a major win under his belt. In the first half of the year, maybe he'll even collect a second one at goml. For our first player in the top 5, though, you're going to have MK Leo all the way down from 5th, -4. It's a big decrease from him, but he's still top 5 in the world. 13th at Battle of the BC, going to be one of his weaker placements, but he also has 9th at Summit, 5th at Crown, 4th at Let's Make Big Moves, 2nd at Major Upset, and then that massive win at Genesis. Got wins on Spargo, Light, Sonix, T, Karama, Mute, Skyj, and Apollo Kage, as well as having a big win at Wave Dash and a 9th place at Collision. No unranked losses, which you would expect from MKLeo. Look at these characters as well. Using Joker, using Balith, using Aegis, maybe using Meta Knight. I don't know if we're ever going to see that character. Maybe it's going to become his main. MKLeo, it's very interesting to see which character he's going to pick up. Kind of like Zachary. He has so many different choices, and when it gets to the point where you have like 50 characters you can play at the top level, it honestly starts to become somewhat of a hindrance because there is a correct choice, but it's really difficult to make it in the moment. I think MKLeo, that could be something he is struggling with a little bit right now, but also he is still the GOAT of Smash Ultimate. I definitely think he can bounce back from this, and it's kind of crazy that I'm saying bounce back when he's ranked top 5 in the world. Like, that's how good this guy is. At number 4, you're going to have Mia, and the only reason that he's so low is this 49th here at Kagurabi 9, because look at these results. 7th at Kagurabi 10, 2nd at Meisuma top 12, 1st at Subageki, 1st at Delta 4, 1st at Meisuma top 11, and Meisuma top 13, wins on Akala, Riddles, Kameme, Yoshidora, Shutone, Zamba, Osimo, and Onin. Like, it's literally just this one placement that is keeping Mia's record down. Without this, he would for sure be top 3. So many major wins under his belt. And when that season does reset, Mia is a player that will be a front runner to be the best in the world. His results, I mean, again, let's just look at them again. These are incredible. And I even talked about like the 30 regionals that he won. He also top 8 at Battle of BC, 2nd place at Kowloon 5. Mia is such an incredible talent at this game. It really is that 49th at Kagurabi that's holding him down. And again, it's really funny to say holding him down when he's already top 4 in the world. Next up, though, you're going to have Tweak, who I definitely think should be number 3. He's got a 9th place at Battle of BC, 5th at Crown, 7th at Genesis, 2nd at Level Up Expo and Summit, and a 1st at Let's Make. He was such a consistent player. Wins on Spargo, Leo, Light, Riddles, Karama, Big D, Apollo Kage, and Mars. He's also going to get a 7th at Collision and a nice win at Kawaii Con. His only unranked loss is going to be to Proto Bonham, and outside of that, the only player that he's lost to that isn't top 20 is Lima. That's crazy. And Proto Bonham, by the way, is a top 20 caliber player. Like, the only one is Lima. That just shows how amazing Tweak has been and how consistent he's been this season. Now, we could see a character switch up going into the latter half of the year. He has been experimenting with the Mega Man, though I do believe that that idea has kind of been scrapped and is going to be going back to the Diddy Kong Sephiroth. And why not? I mean, it's brought you such great success. Number 3 in the world. You have a super major win and you have one of the best seasons in Smash Ultimate. And we finally get to our top 2. At number 2, though, you are going to have Sparrow with a 5th at Genesis, 3rd at Collision, 2nd at Let's Make Big Moves, 1st at Major Upset, 1st at Battle of BC, and 1st at Kagurabi 9. Full gold wins on Akala, Tweak, Mia, MK Leo, Riddles, Sonics, Yoshidora, and Glute. I mean, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only reason he doesn't have 2 is because that is him. He has been unreal this season. A lot of people are going to be regarding him as the best player in the world right now. And the reason that he isn't on this ranking is going to be this 13th at Summit with the ranked loss or the unranked loss to Void and this 9th place at Crown. Obviously, those are going to be the 2 biggest blemishes. But to be fair, his blessing is Akala, who is the number 1 ranked player in the world, which is pretty crazy. But if you look at Akala's results, I mean, these are the best player in the world results. You cannot really argue this, even though the head-to-head is in Spargo's favor. You're going to have 2nd at Battle of BC, 2nd at Kagurabi 10. He wins Summit, he wins Umabora, he wins Kagurabi 9, he wins Meisuma top 12. He has a full gold win list like Spargo, wins on Tweak, Mia, MK Leo, Yoshidora, Shutone, Glutiny T, and Zach Ray. He's also going to have a 72 win percent versus the top 20, whereas Spargo is going to have a 66 win percent versus the top 20. Spargo is going to have a 75 win percent versus the top 100, and Akala is going to have an 82 win percent versus the top 100. So it really is a tough situation because you obviously have Spargo with the head-to-head. You have Spargo winning the biggest events of Kagurabi and Battle of BC, but you have Akala with the consistency, and he's better versus the rest of the world. So even though Spargo may win the Spargo to Akala head-to-head, Akala is more favored versus everyone else in the world, and I do agree that he should be number 1 right now. I mean, these results, they're just incredible for him. They are number 1 caliber. Spargo has a couple blemishes that Akala simply does not have. If you want to put Spargo number 1, though, I think that's absolutely fine, because a 5-0 record is pretty damning in one person's favor, but Akala being number 1 in this ranking, that's okay with me. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, huge shout outs to DKGM for making this ranking. His link will be down below. Please go follow him. Go like the post. Make sure this thing absolutely blows up because this is just such high quality work, as well as being one of the best rankings I've seen in a long time. I agree with like 90%, maybe even higher of these placements. I think it was just really well done. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Sports been absolutely unreal. Be sure to sub, all that yada yada, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.